Hello, on this video I'm going to be talking about microphones, going from some inexpensive ones all the way up, and I'm going to explain a little bit about some of the microphones and the different kinds and some of the different switches and things like that. So this is an Audio-Technica condenser microphone. Now normally a condenser microphone requires what they call phantom power, which is 48 volts. This one, however, has a built-in battery. So you just simply put batteries in here. In this case, it's a AA. And that gives the electric part, or gives the preamp part power, and this is actually a permanently charged condenser. This takes a regular Canon connector, so it's a balanced connector. And this one only has an on and off switch. That's really all you can do is turn it on. The pattern on this one is omnidirectional, meaning that it picks up in any direction all around it. And it's a good, inexpensive, all-around microphone for some basic recording where you want to record around a large area. Another reasonably priced one is this Shure SM57. It also has a sister microphone called an SM58, which has a ball on the end, but basically the same type of thing. Now this microphone is called a dynamic, meaning that it has a small magnet inside, has a little coil, almost like a speaker, except it's the opposite. And when you speak into it, the coil moves, that makes an electrical signal that goes through a transformer and comes out the output, which again is a Canon connector. This one has no switches on it, nothing. It's just a plain old microphone. But this is one of the most popular microphones for things like top of the snare drum, for guitar amplifiers, even some vocals, although usually on the vocals you use the sister microphone, the SM58. If you'll see here, it has a pattern on it. That's called a cardioid. It's heart-shaped. That means it picks up in the front and rejects from the rear. So this one is good a lot for vocals and things that you want to pick up from the front only. So if you were going to buy one microphone, this would probably be my recommendation as an inexpensive, high-quality microphone. And it's made by Shure Brothers, and they've always been a really reliable company. And I've actually had to rebuild this, and you can still get parts for these things like this whole top piece. You can just replace it. So I'm going to go get some more microphones, and I'll be right back, and I'll talk about a next level up. If you want to move up to a little higher level microphones, here's a good selection. This one's an Electro Voice SRO 671. They don't make this exact model anymore, but they make a very similar one. And it also has the Canon connector, or we also call those XLR connectors. This one only has an on and off switch. It's a cardioid microphone, but it has a pronounced peak. So this is a vocal mic. So when you sing into it, it gives a warmth, and it has a special peak built into it so that it gives the male voice especially a really, really good sound. It's a high impedance microphone, even though it's balanced line. So some microphones are low impedance, some are high impedance. Doesn't really matter so much anymore because most of the preamps now can accommodate either type without any problem. The only problem with this is Electro Voice. This had a lifetime warranty. They don't honor their lifetime warranties, unfortunately. So I had to rebuild this. I had to go buy the parts and get them from a different source. But it's a fantastic mic. I've had it for a long time. And these Electro Voice mics are really, really good. It's just that, again, like I said, they may not stand behind it. Here's another Electro Voice microphone. This is called a PL20. It's also known as the RA20. This one you see mostly in broadcasting. It has a great sound for male vocals, especially for like disc jockeys or for singing. But mostly it's used also for bass drums. So if you wanted to have my second most recommended microphone would be this one. So the Shure SM57 would be in my number one, and number two would be this PL20. These are in the $400 to $500 range for price. This one has one switch on it, and it's a roll-off switch. So if you see the flat line across there, that means the response is flat. If you flip it this way, that gives you a bass roll-off. What that means is some of the lows are attenuated, and the reason you do that is to prevent rumble. So another great microphone, and this is dynamic, doesn't require any kind of power supply. So I'm going to go now to my Shure SM81. This is a condenser microphone, has a very small capsule. It has on here an attenuator, so you can dial it at 0, which means no attenuation, or minus 10 decibels, which gives you some attenuation. It also has a roll-off. So all the way over to the left is flat, and then there's some roll-off on the bass, and then even more as you flip it all the way over. Switch is rather small, kind of hard to use. This one requires phantom power, which means it requires 48 volts. This is commonly used for snare drums. It's a very crisp mic. It's really good also for hi-hats. Excellent microphone overall. I use it fairly often, so another good choice if you want to buy a higher end microphone. And mine also came with, you could put a pop filter on it, and it came with an isolation stand holder, so it's really a good deal. Now this one over here is a Sennheiser, made in Germany. It's a 421. This is a dynamic microphone, low impedance. Dynamic again meaning that it's got a little coil in there and a magnet, and so you don't need any phantom power. This one doesn't have a volume control or roll-off switch or anything. It's just a plain old microphone. It just looks like that. Again, it has an XLR connector on the end. And this is commonly used for bass drums or for riding tom-toms. Great microphone for those purposes. So I'm going to cut away and I'll get out some little higher range microphones and we'll talk about those. Okay, now we're getting into a range of microphones that are in the $1,000 to $4,000 range, let's say, depending on which models you might buy. This one over here is an AKG C414. They've been making this microphone for years and years and years. It's phantom powered, XLR connection. It has several patterns, so you can dial it in for omnidirectional, cardioid, hypercardioid, and figure 8. And what that means is figure 8 is 2 singers can sing on each side of the microphone. The Beatles used to do that a lot. And it picks up from each side, but not from the in-between area. Hypercardioid picks up mostly right straight in the front. It's got a very, very narrow range of pickup. Cardioid, of course, is also frontal pickup, rejects the rear, but it's a little wider. And then omnidirectional is anywhere in the sphere of the microphone. But this one also has some other features. It has an attenuator, so you can have it at 0, minus 10, and minus 20 decibel roll-off. And it also has a bass attenuator, so there is no roll-off, and then there's roll-off from 75 hertz down and then 150 hertz down. So this is one of the ones made in Austria. I'm not sure if they still make them there or not, but these are a great microphone. Pricey, but I've had this one for about 35 years. I have a couple of them. And when you buy something of really high quality like this, it's going to last for a very, very long time. Even the original pop filter here is still in perfect condition. Now here's a Neumann microphone. These used to be made only in Berlin. I'm not sure if that's still true or not. This one's a cardioid pattern. This one uses their large capsule, which is common to most of the expensive Neumann microphones. It's 48 volt phantom powered, and this is one of the least expensive ones, so it has no features, like it doesn't have selectable pattern or roll off or anything else. But this is a really good one for vocals and also for things like Marshall amps, because it takes a very high pressure sound level without distortion, so you could put it in front of a stack of Marshalls and record from that without distorting. And it's a very low noise floor on this microphone, which is something I haven't spoken about. When you buy an inexpensive microphone, usually they have a little hiss in the background. That's called your noise floor, our signal to noise ratio. And as you move up in price, they typically get better and better till you get to something like a Neumann, which is a super, super quiet microphone. This one uses a field effect transistor for the input. But some of the Neumanns, if you want to pay even more money, use a vacuum tube, and it'll come with a vacuum tube power supply and some other things. So hopefully that gives you an idea of some microphones, and mostly I wanted to talk about price ranges and then also what the switches actually do, because people have asked me that question, so we thought we'd make a quick video on it. So that's all there is. Thanks for watching.